Hey guys, it's your boy Mark back with another video. This is Top Sunday number 35, and this is the exact same list as last week, except I'm going to actually talk about each choice. This is once again my top 10 favorite movie directors, film directors. Again, I did this exact list last week, but it was just a slideshow video. I didn't put the names of each director on purpose, kind of, so that when I actually did, because I knew I wanted to do this video a week later, just because I wasn't feeling it last week. Even now, I'm not feeling it, but I already said that I would probably do this, so I am backing out now. All right. I wish I had done this last week, But yeah, my top 10 favorite film directors. Exact list is last week, but that's just me talking about each choice and why they're on the list, I guess. And hopefully this turns out great. Alright, so my number 10 is John McTiernan. Now, out of all the directors on my list, this is by far the one that I've researched and searched up about online the least. To tell the truth, he's pretty much only on my list because of Die Hard. Die Hard is one of my favorite things ever, but he's also done Predator, Die Hard 3 with a Vengeance, and Last Action Hero. All of those are just freaking phenomenal movies. But I've done my favorite directors list a trillion times, man. So if I do this list again at some point in the future, I could easily see myself completely neglecting Sir John McTiernan on that list. So with all due respect, of course, he's just by far the least amount of out of every director on this list, even directors that aren't even on this list. By far one of the least I searched about. But when you look at his filmography, that's amazing, man. All right, number 9, I'm gonna go with Judd Apatow. This man's comedy movies just defined the 2000s, man. And I remember back then when I didn't know who he was back then, but the 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Funny People, all those movies, came out, and they're all his movies, and even movies that aren't even by Judd Apatow, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek. Those are definitely, I would easily say, his style and kind of influenced by his type of movies. I have so many great memories from the 2000s of watching his movies, rewatching them on repeat and just loving them like nothing. I wish he would do movies now as often as he did back then, the same type of movies, because I love his movies. All right, he's by far probably my favorite comedy movie director, and I feel like it's very overlooked on favorite directors lists. In fact, it wasn't until maybe 2020 that I realized that Judd Apatow is probably one of my favorite directors, easily. I love Judd Apatow, love his movies, and he is rumored, and this might age really horribly bad, but he is thinking about making a This Is 50 movie, because his movie This Is 40, from 2012, I love that movie. I understand a lot of people don't like it, but I love that movie. It's one of my comfort movies, to be honest, and I love it. But we'll see. If he does a This Is 50, because he said he might do that. I also remember him saying that he might do a third movie that follows the daughter. I guess that's off the table now, but I would have loved that too. But either way, whatever next movie he comes out with, I'll be there day one, man, to watch it, And number 8 on my list, David Fincher. The There was a time when he would have been easily like in my top five. And I used to love David Fincher a lot more, but I don't know what it is. I just don't gravitate towards him as much anymore. Which actually makes me sad. I loved when I easily put him like in my top five directors ever. But he's done an insane amount of amazing movies. He did Seven. I mean, to tell the truth, I don't think I ever really understood Seven. I don't think I ever really got that movie, to be honest. But not because I probably in the past said, "Oh my gosh, I love Seven," but that was when I didn't stick to my true opinions as much as I really embrace that now, But he did Fight Club, my favorite of his. For the longest time was in my top five favorite movies. I still love it, but I don't love it anywhere near as much anymore, at least right now. Panic Room, which was pretty awesome. Zodiac, which I haven't seen, but I want to watch that, especially because I like crime shit. The Social Network, which is still relevant today. That movie will be relevant for a long time. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that was really awesome. Gone Girl, I would say Gone Girl and Fight Club are by far my two favorites of his as of right now. And yeah, like the thing is, I don't gravitate towards him anywhere near as much as I used to, but he's done some great movies. Not really talked about enough overall, I reckon. But hopefully, eventually, I'll reclaim that even more love that I used to have for him. I still love him, but I mean, like, when I really, really loved him, you know what I mean? Like, when I loved, like, yeah. And, number 7, James Gunn. I won't lie, a big reason James Gunn is on this list at all is because of Peacemaker. And if you guys have seen my channel, you know how many Peacemaker videos I got on my channel. But for me personally, James Gunn is easily like one of my inspirations. Like one of, for me making my own films and all that. Like, I love to take photos of my scripts when I finish them, just like he does. That 100% is inspired by him. And just his style. I love his style, and it's the type of style that I kind of love to do, But Peacemaker, both Guardians movies, some other movies of his I haven't seen yet, but that was like before he became like a huge name and all that, and the Suicide Squad too, of course. But yeah, I don't really have anything more to say about James Gunn, which surprised me actually. But I said the main stuff. Now, number 6, I won't lie, number 6 feels obligatory to me to just include on my list, I won't lie. But, I don't know if I ever really loved this director as much as so many others. Obviously, my respect is insane for him. But number 6, I'm going with Steven Spielberg. He still has plenty of movies I haven't seen. He's a legend. No freaking doubt about that. Who doesn't know who Steven Spielberg is? Number 6 on my list, personally. It's between him or someone else on this list that I would consider, not my personal favorite, but I would probably consider the greatest director of all time. But, Steven Spielberg, his impact on cinema, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, and just so many blockbusters, man. He didn't direct Back to the Future, but he had a part in that too, Ready Player One, Saving Private Ryan. Even though I don't like Saving Private Ryan that much personally, but you know, um, I don't know what more to say. Like I said, I almost feel obligatory to put Spielberg on my list, but I love Steven Spielberg still. Don't get me wrong. Let's get to the top 5 now. My number 5 was the first director that I ever pretty much knew about, And my number 5, my homeboy, Kiwi, Peter Jackson. He was. I remember when the Lord of the Rings. I honestly, I'm sure eventually I'll check them out, but I'm not like that interested in watching his low budget pre Lord of the Rings stuff. Honestly, I think I'm just so spoiled by his insane big budget, insanely huge scale stuff. That I guess I'm kind of like taken off guard like by his previous work. Like The Frighteners and Brain Dead and all that. But obviously, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and King Kong are the main reasons. Not even close why he's in my top 5. Just an amazing, amazing director. Like that goes without saying. I don't know what more to say, honestly. Just, I feel like I don't need to say anything more. Just, yeah. Number 4, Martin Scorsese. The reason he's up on this list so high, another one of my big inspirations for how I make my movies. I love his style. I love just the balls to the wall stuff he puts in his movies. Just, The Departed, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Casino. Just so many classics. That, like The Irishman. He's still going strong today. How old is he now? He's going to be 80 in November, I think. Like, oh my god, just amazing, incredible. For a lot of people, he would be considered the greatest director of all time. Completely understandable. I wouldn't say that. I would consider my number 2 or number 6 the greatest director of all time. But what do I know? And I don't know what more to say about Martin Scorsese. He really just, the whole thing about that he was saying about Marvel movies was extremely frustrating, man. And just, it's like, shut up, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat just because he's one of my favorite directors. I still love him, but that was extremely frustrating. It still is, man. Like, even if you don't like films, just anyway, that's not what this list is about. But yeah, number 4, Scorsese. Number 3, Quentin Tarantino. Weirdly enough, I still love Pulp Fiction, but if I was really honest with myself, which I finally decided to be, like a couple years ago, I don't love Pulp Fiction as much as, like, I don't really get why so many people just adore Pulp Fiction, like, as much as I do. I love it, but far out, man. Now, for me personally, I think Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained are by far Tarantino's best films. I said it. Like, yeah, like those films just suck you in and just they're incredible. Those 2 films are just bravo. I love Pulp Fiction, but holy shit, man, I've gotten way too critical on this than I was intending to. Apologies. Apologies. Um, Kill Bill's amazing. That was my introduction to Quentin Tarantino. And because of Kill Bill, I probably assumed that Pulp Fiction would be just as violent. It was nowhere near as violent. I think that's why I was disappointed and taken off guard when I first watched it. I still love Pulp Fiction, but, you know. And I'll say this, Quentin Tarantino, one of the reasons that I got back into movies from 2011 to 2012, I was just obsessed with wrestling, and I just cared about wrestling. And then after one movie by a director that's not even close to be on this list, but along with Quentin Tarantino's work, such as Pulp Fiction, and like Kill Bill and all his movies, one of the directors that really got me into film as a whole. You know, that's probably why I'm hesitant to ever rank Quentin Tarantino below number 3 on my favorite directors list. You know, I love this guy. I love him. Alright, I don't want him to stop at 10 films. Alright, I want him to keep doing it. Keep going. And more like Django Unchained and Inglourious Basterds, please. Those are just masterpieces, man. You know. But, yeah, I adore Quentin Tarantino. You know. Heck, my mom says that my writing, like the way I write my scripts, reminds her of him. You know, which is, I was kind of expecting her to say, actually, when I asked her, hey, does my writing remind you of any, you know? And my second favorite director of all time is Stanley Kubrick. I never would have thought I would love Stanley Kubrick as much as I do now, like a couple of years ago. But when I finally got into his movies, like, I never really watched his movies properly, and I was probably making fun of Kubrick and his fans a bit, and I regret that. I mean, they were still annoying, you know, his fans, but now I absolutely adore Stanley Kubrick so much, man. Like, the films he made, they are just incredible. Like, timeless masterpieces, man. I think I used to think he was like a art house pretentious director or something like that, before I really properly watched his movies, you know. I'm just being real, telling the truth about how I really felt at first and all that. No BS. You're gonna get the truth from me. Nothing more, nothing less. But then, when I got the Stanley Kubrick collection for Christmas in 2018, I couldn't get enough, man. I was just watching them and just being sucked in and just loving every bit of what I was seeing, like, and his style too. His style is a huge influence on me as a filmmaker of my own. And I don't know if anyone else feels this. I could be very alone in this, but I don't care. My favorite thing about Stanley Kubrick, by far, and is by far the reason he's such a huge inspiration to me as my own filmmaker, and by far my favorite thing about him, etc., is his movies. They're a piece of their time. Yes, that's why I love Stanley Kubrick so much, because his movies are amazing, but also because they're all a piece of their time. Like, Stanley Kubrick used real food and, like, Full Metal Jacket, and just thinking about how that donut in Full Metal Jacket just existed in that one scene where he forces Vincent D'Onofrio to eat it. You know, that is from when he filmed it, and that doesn't exist anymore. and just that's my favorite thing about Kubrick. All right, I could be on an island with that, and you know what? If I am on an island, fine. I absolutely adore Stanley Kubrick now. I used to think he was like a pretentious art house director. He is absolutely far from that. He doesn't do art house crap at all. All right. His movies are amazing. There's still a few of his I need to see. And I almost, once I watch all of his movies, then that's it. I want to savor, watching all of his movies, and I just adore Stanley Kubrick. I can't put it to words enough how much I love Stanley Kubrick, man. Just so amazing, man. Like, I love him so much. And, yeah. And my favorite director of all time, if you guys know me, if you've known me for the past decade, you know who my favorite director of all time is. This isn't even a contest. Although sometimes I do kind of want to put Stanley Kubrick as number one. But my favorite director of all time, and this is obvious if you know me, is Christopher Nolan. I still remember when I first heard about Christopher Nolan, I had no clue who he was. I remember I was going on IMDb, I was searching through, like, people's, like, favorite, like, movie rankings lists, like Star Wars movies rankings and all that. And I came across a list ranking all Quentin Tarantino films. And then that same guy made a list ranking all Christopher Nolan movies. And I was like, this was back in like 2012, by the way, like November 2012, maybe. And I had no clue who Christopher Nolan was. I never heard of him. I saw The Dark Knight in the thumbnail, and I was like, really? He directed a movie as big as The Dark Knight? Because I never heard of Christopher Nolan. And then I go on the list, and Christopher Nolan did The Dark Knight, Inception, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises. He was about to do Interstellar at the time, about to do it. And I was like, how have I never heard of this director? Like, I don't love the Dark Knight trilogy as much as I do now. Back then, in fact, I barely thought about the Dark Knight trilogy at that point. I know that's insane to hear me say that. And then I heard of this movie called Memento, and I was like, holy crap, I gotta check out this guy's movies. And then I just watched The Dark Knight, and I was like, holy shit, that was just, it blew me away. Like, I did see The Dark Knight in cinemas, but I regret me seeing it in cinemas because I didn't appreciate it back then. My mind was thinking about going to the store afterwards, which never happened. And I regret that because my own fault. I missed an amazing movie in cinemas, even though I technically saw it in cinemas. That was amazing. And then just Inception, and then before you know it, Quentin Tarantino was my favorite director of all time for a little bit. And then, in a very short period of time, Christopher Nolan became my second favorite director of all time. And just, I don't know, just when I heard about Man of Steel at the time, coming out, and all these superhero movies coming out, I don't know what happened. I just decided, you know what, Christopher Nolan is my favorite director of all time. I have no idea when exactly I decided that, but I did eventually. And From the second that I first told someone that he's my favorite director of all time, of course, I immediately see these bandwagoners saying, "Oh, Chris Nolan's overrated." You know, I swear, you think you deserve a freaking medal for calling him overrated? Like, shut up, man. I love Christopher Nolan to death. I know I will meet him one day. I know I will. All right. And I swear, whenever a new Christopher Nolan movie is announced, like it's euphoria for me. You know, like when I hear that a new movie is announced, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could. You know, he has Oppenheimer coming out next year. That is by far my most anticipated upcoming movie out of anything coming out. Yep. But yeah, that's my full-on list of my favorite directors. Well, it's the same list as last week, but this is me talking in depth as much as I could. I probably could talk more about every single choice on here, but this video is already gone as long as I pretty much expected it to, so I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Top Sunday number 35, even though it's the same list as last week, and today is March 20th, 2022. Alright, I'm your boy Mark Sanders. Have a good one, y'all. Peace out.